How's it going, guys? Welcome to another live stream. Just thought I would jump on here real quick this evening. Got some time. Sorry, I didn't give any notice. uh, make sure you guys can hear me. Wait for some people to join on in here. Welcome to the live stream. Ask me any questions about trucking or being an owner operator. I'll do the best to help as I can. Hopefully, there's a couple people available to join this live stream. I'm doing it pretty late on a Thursday night. Usually, I do it a lot earlier, but finally just got some time to get one in here this evening. Welcome. Kind of wait on some people to join in here. Feel free to ask me any questions that you might have regarding the trucking industry or being an owner operator. I'll try to answer it. Welcome. Feel free to ask me any questions regarding the trucking industry or being an owner operator. I'll kind of give this maybe a couple minutes for people to join in and start asking some questions that I can reply to. Working on getting a better setup for the office here. I've got some plaques coming for the walls behind me. Some trucking stuff. Some license plate on this side. And then I got a stencil coming on this side. So pretty excited for those things to come to make this more of a studio, if for that lack of better terms. I also had to shave for a job that I'm doing coming up, so don't have the big beard anymore. Might look a little bit different. All right, guys and gals, feel free to ask me any questions regarding the trucking industry or being an owner operator. Welcome. This is Make Money Trucking. So I do these once a week. And basically, I try to answer anybody's questions. Haven't done too many videos over the last couple of weeks. But usually I get a lot of questions regarding the trucking industry and whatnot. So I try to jump on this, once a week or so to answer any questions people may have. There's no notice for this one. Just hoping that I catch some people maybe later in the afternoon. Might be a good time to do so. So like I said, feel free to ask me any questions. I'll kind of hang out here and kind of wait for some more people to join in, since I didn't give any advance notice of this one, because I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get to do one today. Yeah, I'll be on here for about an hour answering your guys' questions that you may have. So feel free to fire any questions at me that you may have. Got a couple people in here, so just waiting for some more to join and some questions to be answered or asked so I can answer them and help some of you guys out, hopefully. All right, see if we got any questions yet. Kind of waiting on some of you guys to get in here. So it's a pretty late. So hopefully some people can join in here and start asking questions. This is a little bit later than I typically do live streams, but it's 8:20 my time. So I guess it's 10:20 on the East Coast and 7:20 on the West Coast. All right, guys. Welcome everybody to the live stream. Just kind of waiting for people to get in here and start asking some questions. I'll be here for at least an hour tonight. All right. Just waiting on some people to get in here. It's been a few minutes now, so feel free to ask me any questions or anything that you guys are curious about or What's up, Cody? Just another night live stream. Also curious on how you guys are doing out there. How work is. Is it busy out there? How are you guys doing as far as things staying busy? I've been actually taking some time off back home, just waiting on some work to come back. Looks like we got some work that's coming back, so we're planning on starting some work here in the next couple weeks. So right now I'm kind of not out there, so I don't really know exactly how busy people are. But we're supposed to be getting busy in the next couple weeks. So how are you guys doing out there? You guys staying busy? I think some flatbed stuff is still pretty going pretty good right now. Construction looks like it's still going pretty strong. Oil field's kind of hit or miss depending on where you're at. Still waiting on some people to join. Gonna give us a few more minutes. How's everybody doing out there tonight? Cody, I come from an entrepreneurial family. I'm mid-30s and I have little debt. I'm thinking about getting into trucking, getting my CDL. Time for a career change. Awesome, man. Yeah, that's a good idea. There's always work to be had, depending on what you're looking at getting into as far as driving. But yeah, I would definitely not a bad idea to get your CDL and then look at becoming an owner operator. That would be the best way if you're an entrepreneur. That's kind of exactly how I am. I didn't have any ambition to get into trucking or start my own business in trucking. I always knew I was going to start my own business and kind of do the entrepreneurial thing. I actually started driving as a job in college, and then I got my CDL, and then next thing you know, I'm making $100,000 a year driving. So I figured I just kept with it, and then I learned that I could pretty much double that as an owner operator. So long story short, became an owner operator, and then the rest is history. All right, Cody. So I have no kids, no wife, girlfriend. Only debt is my mortgage, and I have 100K as positive equity in my house too. We're sitting in a pretty good spot. My best advice, if you want to get into this, I'm assuming you want to become an owner operator, have your own trucking business. Sorry. I would get a job as a driver and then get some experience, maybe 1 to 6 months. And then from there, you can buy a truck and lease on to somebody. And the insurance is going to be a little more expensive. Your age is good, but the experience, as long as you don't have any tickets, accidents, or nothing like that, that's a big thing that costs a lot of insurance, costs you a lot for insurance. And if you're leasing on to companies like I do, they run you under their insurance. So it might be a little bit harder to get approved underneath them if you have anything on your record within the last 3 years. Moto, Holic, hi, how's it going? Enzo, not bad. Awesome, good to hear. Also, Enzo, thinking about buying a truck and running for Amazon, living in New Jersey. Yeah, that's a tough area of the country to do business out of. That's all I know about that. Amazon can be good. I don't know if you can go directly through Amazon or if you have to kind of go third party through Amazon. I know of a carrier. I was going to start doing Amazon, and a carrier I worked for, they had an Amazon contract, and so I was going to do it through them, and then I was actually trying to get directly contracted through Amazon at one point in time, but we just couldn't get everything figured out within a timely manner. and I ended up shutting that side of the company down and just going back to me, myself, and I. This one had company drivers. All right, Cody. Only ticket was in 2010. Yeah, that's good then. I mean, if that's the last ticket you had, you're in good shape. Usually, it goes out about 3 years. Um, no major tickets within the last 3 years, so that's good. Enzo, I used to run for Ford Air, but not really looking to run. Yeah, I mean, if you can run Amazon locally, like a line haul situation, I think they've got that here on this side, like out of Denver and whatnot. I think they do a lot of that. Just running up. I think a lot of it's local. I don't think most of any of it's over the road. But that's what you need to check into over there is if there's a local or regional deal. Which being Amazon, they should have freight that's going from city to city, major hub to another major hub. All right, so now we got some people in here, so that's good. Cody, do you got any idea on what kind of trucking you want to do? Eddie, hello. How are you? Cody, I'm in Wisconsin, by the way. I think I just want to do drive-in OTR starting out. You can. It's not going to pay that well, but to get your experience, it won't hurt. I mean, especially if you got money in the bank, just don't let them push you around. You're in a position where you can pretty much get whatever you want, as far as like you're not desperate for money, so you don't have to be doing the dirt work. So you're in a good position. You can kind of bargain your way to getting like good loads, and tell them, hey, I don't have to be here. I'm here because I want to be here. So, all right, Eddie. I'm good. That's great. How long did you drive company before becoming owner operator? So I basically started driving a truck for a beer company, delivering beer. That's how I got my CDL. And that was a hard job, lifting kegs, 165-pound kegs all day. And then, throwing beer around. Sounds like a fun job, but it's not. Anyways, did that for 2 or 3 months. And then I got they got me my CDL, did it for another 2 or 3 months, had my own route. And then I basically went to the oil field because it was right in my backyard. And I had been in the oil field as a welder before. So I was a welder and an engineer, going for engineering throughout school. So anyways, I went out, started driving a water truck. And I did that for about a year to 2 years. And then I became an owner operator, I think the second year. So about 2 or 3 years in, somewhere around that timeline is when I finally realized, well, I'm making 6 figures, but I can double that if I buy my own truck, and I'm mechanically inclined. So if I do it the right way, I can at least make, $50,000 more a year and have a little bit more say so on what I do or don't do. So yeah, that's what I did. All right, Cody. I would maybe do reefer, but definitely not flatbed or tanker. Why not flatbed or tanker? As far as I know, those are what pay the best. As far as I know, flatbed oversized loads are probably one of the best paying, and tanker like me doing hazmat is probably one of the best paying. And then, all right, Enzo, you delivered beer for 15 years. Dang, man, that's now. Were you delivering beer like to each and every liquor store, or were you delivering beer like from hub to hub? Did you have a route? Were you on a side loader or a bulk truck? I guess I should ask you that. Some beer lingo here. Hello, everyone. Hello. MHRE tab Bata. I am sorry if I butcher your name. I don't even want to try to pronounce that. Which reefer unit is the best, Carrier or Thermo King? You know, nowadays with the technology, I think they got to be pretty about the same. They got to be competitive, or they wouldn't be in business anymore. So I think they're pretty much about identical. To be honest with you, they'd have to be by this point in time. I know I've heard of both of them. Eddie, I drove OTR first year and last 2 years regional. Thinking of getting my own truck now to make more. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. That's what I did. I was driving in the oil field as a company driver, and I kept seeing these guys. We go to the same places, but they had their own truck, and a lot of guys are scared of getting their own truck. But I started talking to them, and my first question was, "How much do you make?" And they told me, "Oh well, I make this much or that much." I'm like, "Holy crap!" That sounds good to me. I was making 90,000 to 100,000 a year, and they're like, "Yeah, I can do about 200 gross." And then they're telling me, by the time all my expenses are factored in, I can make, about 120, 130. I was like, well, that's awesome, because all the write-offs take care of taxes. So you're netting about, 40 to 50 grand more a year. And at the height of it, when it was booming, guys are doing 250. So I was doing 1 to 120 at the height of everything. So yeah, I mean, to make double the amount of money, that's why I jumped in. All right, Enzo, back to the beer stuff. Yeah, I had routes and was a supervisor. Awesome. You're a supervisor though? That sucks, man. I know the supervisors always had. Well, I don't know. They just sat around and drank beer all the time. I don't think they really did much, but they had to go and save drivers on their routes when they're slacking, or if somebody got sick, they'd have to go do one of their routes. So I guess they weren't, humping it as much, every day in, day out, but they would kind of just show up to us and kind of help us out. And I say kind of very lightly, because they picked the easiest stores and the best stores that were the easiest to deliver to, and then they'd help us out with those. But then they'd never show up to the hard stores that really sucked. And it's like, well, I don't need help at this store. I mean, I could use your help at that crappy liquor store down the street, but they were long gone when you went to crappy stores. All of the above, I've done all. Yeah, I bet for 15 years. Man, how's your back, by the way? Because doing that for a year killed my back. Man, I was over it. And I would say that I'm pretty in shape, and I was, especially back then. And dang, man, 15 years, that's got to put a hurting on your body. All right, Crispy, start out in ag first 2 years during your. Okay, so you're trying to doing Chris B, can you retype that message? Because I can't quite understand. There's a couple auto text or whatnot, kind of put some funny words. Doing refuse right now, trying to get into owner operator soon. Okay, I think I understand what you're saying. So you're doing agricultural stuff right now. Do you have a CDL, or are you just under like that agricultural exemption? Cody, what are good non-monetary questions for your first carrier employer when calling potential employers? I would ask them how long they've been around, number one. Number two, how many guys they currently have working for them. Then I'd ask them why they need more trucks. to basically get a good idea of, what kind of contracts they have, why they're hiring on trucks. Um, so yeah, basically just feel them out, don't be scared to ask questions, ask them who they work for, like I work in a field where a lot of the carriers work for big energy companies. So my first question is who you guys do work for. If they tell me a big energy company that I know is going to outlast till the end of time, sometimes they're too big to fail, then I know I'm good. And I usually ask them, why do you need owner operator? Like, why do you need drivers right now? And if they tell me, oh, well, we just picked up a new contract, or they tell me, well, we need drivers, if they say they picked up a new contract or more work, that's a good thing. But if they're kind of like, well, we've had the same work for a while, and they don't talk about new work, then that's probably a bad thing. Unless they just have a couple slots. But if they're hiring all the time, then that's kind of something to watch out for, unless they're just constantly getting new work. But then again, like a lot of carriers or companies, they go in and out of work, and guys go in and out because a lot of guys jump. They always think the grass is greener on the other side. So they'll constantly be going to other companies just because they think it's better than wind up coming back. Enzo, your supervisor sucked. Yeah, they did. And all they did was drink like all day long. I don't know. I think one of them ended up getting DUI by the time it was over. I don't know how all of them didn't get DUIs. But the guy that they were good guys though. I mean, one of them really helped me get my CDL, and he really kind of put his trust in me. So I can't be too mad because they selected guys back then. There wasn't a huge need. So I came in when they had a lot of spots filled, and you had to work your butt off and prove to them that you were, worth something for them to get you your CDL. So the one supervisor I had, he really kind of leaned on me and pushed me to get my CDL. So I can't be too upset about it. But he was actually a cool one. I was kind of worthless as a supervisor, but he was cool, fun to hang out with. At least there's that. Yeah, I bet your back is shot. Man. So what do you do nowadays? Hopefully you're not still delivering beer, unless you're just bumping a dock and just driving, not having to load that crap. Yeah, that was sales right now. Okay. Yeah, I was laughing. Because you'd see these big dudes down in the big cities that just did the keg routes, and they look like they're like there's a bunch of meatheads, and it was perfect for them because they loved it. They were, they'd work out all day long and then go and work out after they got off work. You always tell guys who delivered beers in big cities because they're just jacked, especially down in Denver. I had a couple keg routes, maybe, I don't know how many kegs, I can't remember off the top of my head, but probably like 30 or 40 kegs, and that was considered a lot. Those guys down there, they had 2 side loaders full of kegs to deliver. I couldn't imagine. They had one whole side loader, and then some guy would kind of transfer it out midday, and they go get another one and bring it back to them. So these guys were just running back and forth, down the city streets, running these kegs, and then they would bring a truck in, and halfway through they'd bring another truck in, and those guys are animals. Can you make good, Eddie? Can you make good money being owner operator doing van or reefer? Let's see. Reefer, I've heard good things about. Drive-in, I don't know. In my opinion, I feel like there's a lot of guys that have dry vans. That's the most common place to become an owner operator. So I feel like it's not going to pay that great, just because it's not specialized. You want to stay in a specialized area that requires specific skills, or qualifications. Mine being hazmat and tanker. Not a lot of guys are qualified for that. Well, sorry guys. I wouldn't say plenty of people. I guess there's not as many people qualified for it. And then like flatbed is specialized because you got to know how to tie down your loads, and it's a little bit more work, especially when you're hauling oversized. And so that's specialized that way. So yeah, dry van, everybody does it, so I don't think there's as much money in it. Enzo, delivering NYC is the craziest job you can have. And did you do it in New York City? Are you serious? Did you seriously deliver beer in New York? That's insane, man. I couldn't even imagine. There's probably what, like 20 bars every city block. Okay. The nuclear bomb. Is Mac MP8 better than D13, or are they the same? The MP8 is different than the. Are you talking about the DD13? Or what D13 are you talking about? Because I'm not too sure, but I think they're different. As the MP8 is a Mac engine, and then the D13 I think is a Volvo. Yeah, I think they're different. I think. Now that you ask me that, I've never heard of them being the same. I drove Max. I never drove Volvo, so I know the MP8 is Max motor, which they're okay, but I almost bought a couple of them once. All right. Enzo, yeah, worked for Cisco. So did you deliver beer for Cisco? Because on this side of the country, all right, Cody, you asked why I don't want to do flatbed. The idea of standing on my load and tarping at 10 foot in the Midwest in January is just such a Yeah, man. I hear you on that one. I mean, every job has its positives and negatives. That's kind of that's just one side of a negative, but the positive is that money's good. But how about tanker? Why don't you want to do tanker? I think that's Enzo. Do you know anything about those Max Force Internationals? I see a lot of them cheap. Yeah, internationals aren't my first choice just because, but the common argument is that internationals and freightliners are crappy or whatever. I think internationals are a little bit more crappier than freightliners, but I've had good luck with freightliners. The Max Force engines I would stay away from. I've heard nothing but problems with those. There's a couple of guys I know that work for smaller, like medium-sized companies with like 50 to 100 trucks, and they switched out from they used to run like older internationals with Cummins or Cats in them, and they started running a bunch of new internationals with Max Forces, and they actually just switched over to Freightliners with DD15s because they had so many problems with them. But they were under warranty, so it didn't hurt them too bad. Yeah, if you see a lot of something cheap, there's usually a reason why, Enzo. So you've worked for Budweiser, Pepsi, Miller, Coke, as well as some. Wow, man. That's crazy. I had my fill. I almost went over to Coke or Pepsi, but then they were telling me that there's a lot more units and it paid a lot less. Or you could make more, but you delivered a lot more units because you got paid by the unit, essentially. Eddie If I'm looking to buy a used truck, how many miles is still good at what price? So I would definitely look for something under 500,000 miles, and probably around 50 grand. Under 500,000 miles and under 50 grand is a good place to be. You would probably find something that's right around there for 40,000. I want to go over 500,000 miles, maybe 600,000 if it looks like a good deal. I mean, my first truck had 600,000 miles, but I kind of bought it from a company that, I knew they were going to kind of back me on it. So I would say under 500,000 and right around 50 grand. As you go lower, the price goes higher in mileage. So as you go like around 300,000 or 200,000, that's when you start creeping up to 60, 70, 80. How long can a truck last? Well, a truck can last as long as you're willing to make it last. Like I've had a 2008 Freightliner for 6 years now, and it had 600,000 miles on it. Now it has a little 860,000 miles. But the truck's been gone through from front to back. Almost everything's been replaced except for the motor itself. Turbo, starters, alternators, brakes, wiring, ECM has been fixed. Yeah, so transmission was replaced. Basically, a truck can last as long as you're willing to maintain it and keep it up. A lot of guys are running 1990s trucks that have been rebuilt 3 times, but I choose to not deal with stuff that old. Like once a chassis has hit 1,000,000 miles, I don't want anything to do with it, especially if I'm just buying it. Because even if the motor's been rebuilt, the rest of the chassis has 1,000,000 miles on it, and you don't know what's been fixed or not. So it can start falling apart. Like when my truck got to about 750 to 800,000 miles, I saw a drastic increase in stuff that was started to go out on it. So it's kind of like a cascade effect, like just a bunch of things one after another started to, like I had the truck for a couple years and maybe something here and there, very spread out. And then once it got to like 750, 800,000, it was like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like every month it was something until I kind of went through everything. And then now as it sits, it's needed a radiator for a while, but as soon as I replace that, it's going to be good for a while. And it has been good for the last couple months. So hopefully that answers your question. Enzo, what kind of sales do you work in? Enzo, even if you're running local, would you still try to get a lower mile truck? Yeah, I would. Sometimes running local puts more beating on a truck than running over the road. Because if you think about it, when you're running over the road, you're just going straight at like 65, 75 miles an hour. Running local, that stopping and going really puts wear and tear on a truck. Clutch, drive line. So I would still look for a lower mile truck. I mean, I've seen some guys that they're willing to take the gamble and they'll buy, like I call it a super trucker truck, like a Long Nose Pete or Kenworth, and they're willing because they can get it for 25,000, or even like a Freightliner too. They'll buy a 1,000,000 mile truck for like 30 grand, but then I noticed that they put 40 grand into it in the next year. And if that's what you like, a lot of guys are kind of dead set on that. Cody, I feel like the age of viable 1,000,000 mile trucks is past the odd W9 387, maybe. Yeah, I would stay away from them. Unless you personally knew the guy that was very particular and you know that that truck had been rebuilt and treated like a show truck, then I think that'd be the only way I'd go about it. But chances of you knowing the guy day to day that's put all the money into a truck is probably pretty rare. Eddie, what kind of truck is most dependable? I've driven mostly Freightliner. Freightliner. Freightliner is the most dependable. The work I do, a lot of it's off road. I drove some Max with the MP8, but they're brand new. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to say with a brand new truck. I drove some T800 Kenworths. They were pretty stout. They're pretty tough. But I've been told by the mechanics that it's hit or miss. It's 50-50 with those. Half of them were great, never had any problems, and the other half had a bunch of problems. The ones I drove happened to have no problems. They had Cummins in them. But as far as like how durable and heavy built the truck was, I think the T800s are great. I mean, if you the most dependable, if you have an old school truck that's been rebuilt, it's going to be dependable until it's not, until something else breaks. All right, Enzo. Construction took the job after losing my job at Cisco due to COVID. Yeah, I would never buy a truck from Jersey. Everything gets beat to hell up here. Yeah. I bet it does. I bought a couple trucks from Boston and drove them back out here, out west. They're okay. I didn't have very long, but they weren't too bad. But that's what the guys out there was telling me. They were telling me to stay away from the trucks here. A lot of them are rusty as hell, too. That's the biggest thing I don't like is a rust. That's another thing. Anybody that's asking questions about what's a dependable truck, what truck to buy, what mileage, here's a good word of advice. Try to get something that's not rusty. That'll save you a lot of headache. So if you're looking at a truck if you're looking at something, a truck that might have higher mileage, but it has no rust, I wouldn't hesitate from that. I would go for that one versus a truck that's a lot lower miles and has rust. I go for the rust-free truck. Make sure it's not been painted. Make sure there's not bubbles bubbling up behind the paint, because that's a clear sign that they just sprayed over the existing rust. Yeah, the suspensions take a real beating here, Enzo. I bet. Talking about because of crappy roads and the potholes. I watch a guy on I don't know if you watch a guy on YouTube called Super Speeders, Rob, and that's all he talks about. He's losing rental cars. He's losing rental cars like wheels and tires every week due to potholes. And I guess there's so many yeah, okay. So you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So I learned from him that, you're staying out New Jersey, and he showed a couple of roads and talks about how much money you pay the state there, and they still can't fix anything. Yeah, I'm a big fan of his. Cody, do you know anything about 160 Driving Academy? I do not. I don't know. Are they a truck driving school? Yeah, that's ooh. All right, Cody. Yeah, they're a chain. How much do they charge? And I guess what I would ask them is what they charge and what companies they have that will take on new drivers, or what companies recruit from their school to hire as drivers, and what's their rate of graduates that get jobs. If they shy away from that question, then they're probably not that good of a school. Or if they shy away from trying to answer that question, because that means they don't get many guys placed into schools or into jobs after they go to their school. As far as right now, there's so many open driving jobs across the country that if you go to a driving school and you can't get placed into a company, that's crazy. Enzo, 12K a year in taxes in town. That's crazy. Yeah, Cody, that's pretty normal. 4 to 4.5K for 4 week school. That's actually a little bit on the cheaper side, to be honest with you. I think now it's so crazy how expensive truck driving school has become. I think it's because now you can get financial aid for it, that they realize that, so they jack the price up. You used to only have to pay like $2,000 for trucking for your CDL license and schooling. It was probably a week long. I think I ended up having to pay because I left the job early, so they charged me for my CDL. I think I ended up having to pay like $1,500. I think the total cost was like $2,500, but that was for local. They didn't teach you nothing about over the road. And all I did was, I just drove with it. I just drove with the guy for like a couple days and had a couple tests and did a couple backing maneuvers, and that was pretty much it. Enzo. Oh, I guess Enzo's replying to Cody. Tim, hi, how are you? Yeah, that's true, Enzo. You have to work harder. Local companies are the way I would try. I would try going with a local company as well. You might have to work harder, but it's better to be local than over the road. So, Cody, you said you've been looking for local and struggling to find local stuff that doesn't require at least 1 to 2 years. So, this is something that I found. Basically, um, if you actually, like, a lot of companies say we require 1 or 2 years, but that's very based on demand. So I got into companies that used to require a year or two, and I actually got into them with 6 months of experience, even maybe even less than that. I think I had like maybe 3 to 6 months of experience, because the demand was so high that they're willing to lower their standard of experience to get in when they're in high demand. So if you call some places, if they say they require 1 to 2 years, give them a call and just say, hey, if I go get my CDL, would you hire me? And they might say yay or nay. It's kind of hit or miss. Tim, I've been doing training for 3 weeks only. And what you such to open LLC or S corp. So if you're going to just be a sole proprietor, just do an LLC. If you're an S corp, will save you a little bit of taxes, but then you got to do payroll on yourself, and then that costs you money. And accountants love S corps because they make more money off you that way. So I don't know. I would, depending on how big you're planning on getting. Like if you're planning on getting drivers and all that stuff, you might want to do an S corp. But if you're just you yourself, and if you're just you, like just you, and you just want to own one truck, I would do an LLC. and then just make sure you just have enough write-offs every year. Which now with this new thing that might be happening, I mean, it's not decided yet. I don't know how taxes are going to shake out. They should at least be the same for the next year or two. Well, at least the next 2021 shouldn't change, but 2020 will stay the same. Let's see here. Yeah, Tim, no problem. Happy to reply. If I can help, I'll try. All right, Enzo. I went to a state school back in 2004. Cost $1,400, 6-week program. Dang. Was that 6 weeks just on weekends? Or was that like 6 weeks in class? Because that's a lot of class time. And that's real cheap for that much class time. You think they'd be charging a lot of money for that class time. Cody, I always thought the 1 to 2 year requirement was more to do with their insurance policies. It is. And I learned from my own business and having drivers. And then I learned from, insurance companies that it's not necessarily all about experience. I have a video about why do companies want so much experience under their insurance. And it's all money. So if they hire a guy that has 2 years of experience, they're probably going to pay less a month for their premium to insure them on their policy. Whereas a new driver is going to be more expensive. And this also, aside from experience, this falls into tickets, charges against you, yada, yada, all the above. So it's all about money. So therefore, when they get desperate enough and they need drivers and demand is high enough, they're willing to pay that premium to get you in there to fill the seats that they have empty. And I just talked to a recruiting company a couple weeks ago. I called a number and it was sort of something completely different, but it transferred me to this recruiting office. They told me there's like 180,000 open driving jobs in the country right now that need to be filled. And I'm like, holy crap, I didn't know the demand was that high. And they said that like in my region, there's about 10,000. And in the city, like down in the metro capital area, there was over 800 jobs that need to be filled. I was like, holy crap. So there's a lot of jobs that are needing to be filled right now. So with that being said, that's good for you. And, maybe take a crappier company that's not that great, doesn't pay that great, just to get a few months of experience. Because that's another thing too. If you actually just get driving and get some experience under your belt, that's going to help you as well. Because if you're just at truck driving school and the company requires 1 to 2 years, they may not take you. But if you tell them, hey, I've been driving under my license for like 2 or 3 months, that might help to, persuade them to hire you since you actually have real experience. Even though it's not that much, it's better than just being out of a school. Let's see, Enzo. During the week, top school in state. Wow. They put you through 6 weeks of school and only charge you $1,400. I had to look at that again. $1,400 for 6 weeks worth of school. Dang. See, I think this is why the education system is kind of, corrupted, because that's the price for 6 weeks. And now because you can get financial aid, and I think you get federal grants and financial aid through the trucking schools, now they charge $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 for a 4-week course. I've talked to guys that have gotten out of those programs. They kind of don't really feel like they learned a whole lot. A lot of just monotonous, class time, and not a whole lot of like driving the trucks, back in the trucks, going out and feeling and touching the parts on the trucks and learning what does what and how this does that. a lot of them tell me it's like 90% class and like 10% is you're kind of just driving, not really having to think that hard. And then they get out in the real world and they kind of have to fend for themselves. Tim S., what if I am planning to buy only one truck, but with my friend, like 50-50? In this case, LLC still better. I don't know, man. I don't think that's a great idea. I mean, because how are you and your friend going to share one truck? That's the thing. That's kind of. Oh, okay, so you're gonna drive like a team. Okay. Then what I would do, Cody, thanks, consult a CPA. Yeah, so definitely do that. Don't take any of my advice. This is just my opinion. I would go 50-50. If you're gonna go 50-50, put both of you guys are 50-50 on the LLC. So you're 50% owner, he's 50% owner, or he, she, whoever it may be. A lot of husband, wives, boyfriend, girlfriends, they do that as well, but they're married. So if you're not married, and it's two separate parties, the way I've seen people do this, so in my industry, there's it's kind of like team, but you deliver day and night. So a lot of local jobs, like in the oil field, nights and days. So two guys would run a truck night and day, and they had an LLC that was 50-50. So they were 50% owner. And that might work out pretty well. But yeah, consult CPA. That's kind of a hard one. Eddie, do you think the trucking industry is good right now to be in and will continue to be in the future? As far as the near future, yeah. There's always gonna be need for trucks in the next few years. Now, far in the future, as things become more automated, I don't see that taking everybody's job. It may take like may take away like a lot of the over the road jobs that are like on the highway from like this designation, like from this hub to this hub. It might take a lot of those jobs, but I don't think it'll take a lot of the jobs that are specialized. Because that's what a lot of people think. Oh, well, it's automated trucks and steal my job. Depends on what job you have. If you're driving a construction truck or a belly dump and you're going into these sites, having to dump in specific areas, no, there's not an automated truck that's going to be able to do that. At least not anytime soon. Or if you're hauling a flatbed and you have to tie down that load and get that load secured, automated trucks aren't going to be able to do that unless they hire people to just load the flatbed. But I don't see how that's going to work. And then like me, I'm going to like locations out in the middle of nowhere, like 20 miles off a dirt road. So I think that would be good. I think right now is a good time. It may not be the best time in trucking to get in, but it's still a decent time. And there's still a lot of work right now, depending on what you want to do. I'd say 5-10 years down the road, maybe not so much as automation kind of takes effect. But, there's a lot of older guys in the trucking industry. There's not a lot of younger guys. So a lot of the older guys are going to be retiring. So that's going to create more demand for younger generations to get into it as well. Enzo, state school is probably way more now. Yeah, I bet. because I guarantee you now you can get financial aid for that school. So I bet that it is a lot more. Uh, Wilo, hey bro, what's your take on Hot Shot? I guess it's good. I mean, it's good if you can find the loads. But a lot of flatbed trucks can take those loads and they take more of them, and they just they combine them together. So where a hot shot can take one load, a semi truck can stop there and get that hot shots load, and then go up the road probably 20 miles and get another load on top of that. So hot shot trucking was a big craze on the internet and YouTube a couple of years ago, but it's not really reliable. It's a lot of it's like hit or miss. There's no schedule to it, and you're sleeping in your pickup. A lot of guys sleep in their pickups, which I don't know why you don't just get a semi and get a CDL. You can haul bigger loads, more loads, and then you have a sleeper you can at least be sleeping in a nice bed rather than in the back of your pickup truck like you're camping or something. Cody, Lionel LTL will be the first to get automated. Yeah, probably. They'll probably pick specific routes that get automated. But here's the thing, though. I strongly believe that unfortunately, there's going to be a big accident that happens, and a very important person is going to get severely injured or, get killed. And when that happens, there's going to be so much lawsuits that I think it's going to postpone the automated truck thing for a while. I just don't see it happening very soon. And because at first they're going to have a driver in the truck that's just sitting there while the truck drives. And there's two problems with that. If you're sitting there as a driver and the truck is driving you, how hard is that going to be to stay awake if you're not actually driving the truck? So that's going to be the first problem, is drivers aren't going to be able to stay awake because the truck's doing all the work. And then trucks are going to crash into people, causing big problems. And they can't really blame the driver because the truck is driving under software. So then the software is they're going to sue the software company, especially if it's someone important, some governor's state or someone in the government, their family member, and it's going to be a big problem. So I think that's going to push it off. And then if that does succeed and they don't have many problems, which I don't see how they can't, once it does become fully automated and there's no one in the truck and the truck does something fishy or stupid, then that's going to put a screaming halt to it. And I think what they might actually end up doing is, how you see a lot of HOV lanes that are basically they have a lot of HOV lanes. I think maybe in the future there might be something that they make like a trucking lane, but then that would have to be on the right hand side, and that's where traffic has an enter and exit. So there's still a liability factor there. Now, if they had an HOV lane on the far left that was for trucks, and you just were supposed to stay the hell out of it as a driver, I think that could be done safely. But mixing live traffic with automated robots driving trucks, I don't think it's going to go very well. So I think we're safe for a while, at least 5 or 10 years. Eddie, I feel like an automated truck gets into a serious accident automated like Tesla, and they would take them off the road. Yeah, they will, because I fully agree. Because if they kill some nobody like me, it probably won't be a big deal to them, and they'll cut the family a check and it'll be done. But the second they hurt or kill someone famous or someone important that's deemed important, then that's going to be the problem, and then it's going to be a big deal. And then I think that's where they need to blame somebody. And there's enough ambulance chasers out here in the trucking industry. All the truck accidents that happen, there are a bunch of lawyers and attorneys that they've got deep pockets to go after a lot of people's money. So you imagine a company that has an automated truck. That's gonna be a lot of money to go after, because software companies are worth millions and millions of dollars. So you bet those attorneys and lawyers are gonna be hungry to get them some cheddar for sure. And then it'll all go away, or most of it will go away, maybe not. I will say I've hired and trained guys right out of school, and they almost always suck as far as maneuvering and handling the truck. It takes time behind the wheel to get good, not long. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it does. Because a lot of these trucking schools, they have a parking lot. They'll have the same parking lot. They'll put the truck in the same line, and then they'll tell you to back, and you're backing in the same parking lot under the same condition over and over and over. And yeah, that does create muscle memory, but then it makes you lazy because like you're not in a real world environment. You're not on a busy city street like you said, New Jersey. You imagine putting that, the guy's done an alley dock in a parking lot with cones. Now put them in downtown New Jersey and tell them to back onto this street with cars on both sides, construction workers over here, officers over there, and people honking. And you got to get experience behind the wheel, because you're not going to be prepared for that. And we all had to go through it, I mean, we all had our permits. We all had our first situations. But yeah, trucking schools, they put you in a controlled environment, almost like a parking lot. They'll have you do a couple backing ups, then they'll sign off on it in an automatic most of the time. And then you got your CDL. And then you wonder why you see all these accidents in these cities and guys like jackknifing trucks or hitting stuff. It's because they backed the truck up once or twice and got signed off. And then now they just don't have the experience that's needed. Steel curtain. DOT is always on hot shots behind. I don't know, man. They're on us truck drivers enough. I didn't even know you guys even got looked at. Willow, yeah, true. Thanks. Yeah, you're welcome, man. That's just my opinion. I've got a couple buddies of mine that haul flatbed, and I've seen a lot of scenarios where they make a lot more money than hot shots too. I know people who did hot shot too, and they didn't end up making it. They actually kind of went out of business. Because at some point in time, and you got to think about it too, a lot of people, it's easier for a lot of people to get a pickup and get a gooseneck trailer. So there's a lot more competition there, because you don't really, you're supposed to have a CDL over a certain amount of weight, but a lot of people probably don't have that. And it's a lot easier to get a pickup in a trailer. For most people, think that's easier than getting a semi, because it's a little more work to get a semi. All right. Enzo, trucking lane would be the same. Are you talking about the automated trucks? But my thing is, like, the trucking lane would have to be on the right side, but then that's where traffic is coming on and off. So then you still have that liability of, like, normal cars would have to get in and out of the lane that the trucks are getting in and out of. So I think the safest way to do it is to create a left-hand lane that nobody has to get in and out of, and have them going a train on a left-hand lane, so they're not interfering with, on and off traffic off the highway. I think that's the only way to do it. But I don't want to think about it, because thinking about an automated semi truck driving next to me on the highway is absolutely terrifying. I mean, drivers are terrifying enough, but having a machine that could malfunction at any point in time. Let's see, Cody. I've driven dually stick shift pickup trucks and fifth wheel campers. Non-CL. I know it isn't Class 8 stuff, but I'm probably better than most Greenhorn CL drivers. Yeah, um, that made me a lot better. I hauled a lot of. I worked for construction companies that hauled a lot of flatbed trailers under the 26,000 pound mark. I hauled around a lot of F-250 dualies with trailers, and that seriously, that was like night and day. And growing up, hauling trucks and trailers around for jobs, that definitely helped me to be better at driving a semi truck. So that definitely does help. It's kind of like when you grow up, like when you're trying to drive a manual, and if you grow up riding dirt bikes or four wheelers, that you understand how the shifting going through the gears works, that helps you a lot more in a manual car. So yeah, driving pickups with trailers definitely helps you when you make it bigger and you just plus size it. Oh, okay. So Enzo, pertain towards how crappy schools are. Yeah, I agree. But I will say on the side of the hot shot, very rarely they do get small loads that make a lot of money that semis have even gotten. Like, um, I know of a guy that he just got a load that was like, I think it was 1,000 pounds, and it was the size of a drywall, like a sheet of drywall. I think it was like about 1,000 pounds, and they just need it so bad. I don't know, it was a special material for something, but he got paid buku bucks to haul that. Probably, I think it was like 800 miles. So in that case, yeah, a hot shot would have been a lot better application, but that's so far in between that that's the problem with the hot shot is you can only do the small loads. And a lot of the flatbeds are taking a lot of the flatbed truck drivers are taking the hot shots loads because they can do two or three of them at a time. Eddie, I don't feel an automatic truck can keep up with the weather and traffic before it gets into a serious accident. Oh, you mean an automated truck? Yeah, it can't. I mean, it's not gonna be able to. That's gonna be the thing that's gonna be interesting. A lot of this testing with automated vehicles is done in a controlled environment. And they might say, "Oh, we took it out on the road and this and this and that," but you know, the weather conditions, ice, snow, rain, traffic, uh, traffic flow. That's going to be impossible for them to. The human, you can't take away the human aspect. You know, even though computers are smarter than us, we can analyze and see different things that a computer can't. Do you think having an automatic restriction on your CDL will restrict you much? I know the industry is moving that way. Um, yeah, if you want to know how to drive manual, I mean, why would you you would restrict yourself? I mean, why would you? That's just one more thing that could stop you from getting a job. I would definitely, I wouldn't, I wouldn't do that. Because what my luck would be is if I went that route, there'd be a truck or there'd be a job that I wanted to get, and then they would have manuals, and I want to be able to work that job. So I would definitely learn how to drive a manual, and don't have the restriction or CDL. I mean, yeah, a lot of companies are going that way, but not everybody is. Like 5 years ago, they're claiming how a lot of companies are going to automatics, but I don't know. I see a lot of companies that still have manuals. Enzo, is it worth the headaches to hire a few drivers, or do you think it's better to just run on your own? You know, that's a good question because I had my own company that I had a few drivers, and it was 24-hour chaos. It was 24 hours, and the phone never, you're never away from the phone. The phone's always on loud. You always got to answer it because you don't know who it could be, and that's stressful. So I keep going back and forth because I did have drivers. I made great money. Um, but at the end of the day, I think it's better just to be you yourself, and just you is probably the best. Um, Ever since I've been just me, myself, and I, it's a lot less stress. And employees cost you money, regardless if they're good employees or not. They still cost money. So accidents, mistakes happen. It usually cost you more than it makes you in the end. But I'm pretty happy running on my own currently. They are already using them in Europe. Josh, what are they using? Are Josh? You talking about evil robo trucks? That's what I'm gonna call them, is evil robo trucks. Or are they using automatics? The automatic thing wouldn't surprise me, but the automated trucks, I guess in Europe doesn't really. Okay. Do they don't they have like designated roads or designated lanes for those trucks? Like kind of like I was talking about earlier. I don't know if you were joined in earlier when I was talking about how they need a lane specifically for trucks. I'm curious on how they do that. I'll have to do some research. But yeah, the automated trucks definitely are not going where I'm going. So the truck is automated on the freeway, and then they drive them once they get off the freeway. Yeah, so they still have a driver in the truck. Okay. Now my question would be, and this is going to create a whole lot of controversy in the future, is if that truck gets in a wreck on the highway, who's going to get blamed? Because I can imagine there's going to be one side that says, well, we have the driver in there and he didn't take over enough time. He should have been, and maybe they're going to claim he wasn't paying attention. And on the other side, you're going to have them going after the technology company because they're going to say, well, the driver wouldn't be able to react. So I feel like there's two different sides that would be getting attacked on that front. That's got to be a sticky situation. Which I'm gonna do some more research on that, because man, I mean, where's the liability placed? I mean, who gets blamed? As I guarantee you, I mean, if they're counting on the driver to catch the truck from doing something fishy, well, I mean, things happen really quick, and B, if the driver falls asleep or is kind of dazing off or daydreaming, and then the truck spazzes out and the driver doesn't catch it in time, that's gonna be real hard to. That's gonna be really crappy to put the blame on the driver. I think in the future, I think the only way I'd be okay with it is if they had like their own highways. If they had roads that are specifically for automated, heck, maybe you put all the automated cars on it too. Half it's for automated semis, the other half's for automated cars, and no people driving normal cars are on it. That might be okay. But I mean, they'd have to develop a whole nother highway transportation system. And then how are you going to make that match up with the current one? Do you think diesel electric hybrid power units like Hyliion manufacturers for factory hybrid retrofits will take off? Um, I think that if there is if they can prove to be efficient enough and still have enough power, I think that there's a possibility. Because I think the problem with electric semi trucks is the range. I was watching a channel called TFL Truck, and they took a Tesla, and it had 300 miles of range, and they put 5,000 pounds on it and tried to tow with it, and the range got depleted by like 75%. So they only got about like 100 miles off of what should have been 300-mile range. Once they put 5,000 pounds on it, which is the towing capability, the range got severely depleted. So I guess my point is that everybody's looking towards the electric semi, but then by the time you put all those motors on the semi gets heavier. So now you can't haul as much because you need so much battery power, and that battery power, your enemy is weight. So eventually, I just don't see. I think a diesel electric hybrid is going to be more usable, more feasible, but I'm just scared that they've kind of tried to bury that so much in. I think maybe like in the future it'll come back around to that. Like once they start producing electric semis, they realize that they're not very practical. I think that they're going to come back to that. The more hybrid systems, I think the hybrid systems would be a lot more beneficial in the trucking industry, at least. But yeah, just fully electric, I don't know how it's going to work. Battery technology is getting better by the day, but it has to get a lot more better, or a lot better. Eddie, why is the driver there? Why not just exactly? And it raises the question of who's the liability fall on? Why the driver's there to do what? If you're sitting there and then a car pulls out in front of them, and you get so used to the semi doing the job and braking, and the driver doesn't pay attention or he has faith in the system, and then the truck rear ends the back of a car. Well, you're not going to be able to react to that because the driver's been desensitized to paying so much attention because he's getting, it's a mess. I really think that's a bad situation. Oh, let's see here. Cody, those are electric diesel hybrid. It only has 100 horsepower electric axle. Cody, rear axle. Front axle is still direct drive from transmission engine. Yeah, that could be a pretty good idea. Especially, I mean, I don't really know though, because I don't know if you want the electric motor taken off and getting going faster. That would be a positive, but then it's going to use up a lot of power. And then if you want it for going down the highway, like I don't know that the electric motors would be more efficient. I'm kind of curious to see where their applications are as far as where they use the electric motor or where they use the diesel motor. Or is it just all kind of a little bit of both? All right, guys. Well, I'll probably be on here for a few more minutes. Probably about 5 more minutes or so. So if you got any questions for me, feel free to ask. I'll probably be on here for another 5 minutes. Give it 5 more minutes, and I'm going to jump off here. Yeah, Cody, no problem, man. That's why I'm here. If you're new, which I don't know if you are or not, my memory is horrible. I don't know if you were here last week or I've been doing these for a couple months now. Do them every week. Try to do them on Thursdays or Wednesdays, just to answer questions that people may have. So I'll be here. Try and do them every week. Help some people out there if they had questions or whatnot. Rocky, what's up, man? You just bought awesome. You just bought your first truck. That's good to hear. What'd you end up getting? What are you looking at getting into, or what's your first driving job going to be? Cody, you've been in my sub box for a while. This is the first one I dropped by for. Awesome, man. Well, I'm happy you dropped in. Hopefully, it was helpful. Hopefully, it was worth your time. And I'll see you next week. Hopefully, usually I put up a post, give a little leadway on time. Today I wasn't able to do that because I didn't really think I was able to be able to do this today, but I got some time at the end of the day. Enzo, thanks, man. Be safe there. Hey, you do the same. It was a nice chatting with you. I love discussing all these new topics. The electric semi thing, was one of them. Oh, and the beer, man. That's crazy. All right, Rocky. So you've got a 2000 Freightliner Classic XL with a 12.7 Detroit. How many miles? That's not a bad choice. As long as Eddie, thank you for the info and opinions. You bet, man. Happy to give them if people are willing to listen to them. Rocky, so 300K on in-frame. That's not bad. As long as the rest of the truck is solid, and I'm sure it probably has over 1 million miles on it, but hopefully you did your due diligence and made sure everything else looked good, or at least got some type of proof that it was in good shape. Yeah, you got the right motor. I mean, a 12.7 with 300,000 miles on it, you should at least get probably easy another 700,000 out of it. The Detroits are 1.3 million mile motors for sure. The 60 series or Series 60. At least I've got plenty of guys that I know that have got 1.3 million miles on their truck's stock engine. So you go through the comments here, make sure I didn't miss any. All right. So last call for any questions or comments or anybody want to be shouted out. It's freaking immaculate. I'm about to lease on to Booker Trans and stop hauling fuel for a minute. That's good, man. That's good. It's hard to find one of those that are immaculate. Usually they're beat up. So that's good. I've almost bought a couple of Freightliner Classics throughout the years. Back like 5-6 years ago, you could still find them with like 500,000 miles on them. I think that's almost impossible now, or at least I've not seen one under 1 million miles in the last few years. That was one of my first trucks that I drove as like a serious, like heavy haul trucking job, hauling water. So I got a real soft spot for Freightliner Classics. I don't know how you send some pics on here, but I tell you what, go to my Instagram at Make Money Trucking, and you can send me some pics there, and I'll be sure to reply on them. You got an Instagram? I'll be sure I'll like and comment on some of your pictures if you got them. If you got an Instagram, you don't have Instagram? Let's see here. Trying to think. Yeah, just if you want to just email them to me, makemoneytrucking@gmail.com, and I'll take a look at them and reply back to you. But do it soon because I'll forget if I don't get to it tonight, I'll forget. Actually, if you want to send them right now or in the next few minutes, I'm going to be on here. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Does it have a 13 speed? A lot of those have 13 speeds in them. That seems to be the most common. Let's see here. Roy Vasquez, what's the normal blow by on 09 ISX? Shouldn't be very much. I don't know 100%, but as long as it's not burning a lot of oil, I mean, it's hard to say. I know in Detroit's they have a little bit of blow by normally. At least all mine have had some little bit of blow by. I'm not too sure on the ISXs. All right. So we're at about an hour and a half. I think that I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you, everybody that came onto the stream and asked questions, interacted, and hopefully I was able to be helpful and bring up some good discussion points on some very interesting topics. So I'll be back here probably next week, same day, Thursday. Might do one a little bit earlier in the day, maybe a little later. But all you guys have a good one out there. And thanks for joining, and I'll see you on the next one.